Damian Fletcher pulled into his driveway at midnight, exhausted from another 18-hour workday. At 38, he had built a cybersecurity empire worth billions, but success had come at the cost of everything else: a failed marriage, no social life, and neighbors he had never met despite living in the upscale suburb for 2 years. He was heading to his front door when he heard a small voice in the darkness. "Excuse me, mister, can you fix our door? Mommy is scared." Damian turned to find a little girl standing on the sidewalk in her pajamas, no more than 4 years old, with curly blonde hair and frightened eyes. She clutched a stuffed bunny and was shivering in the cool night air. "Where is your mother?" Damian asked, immediately alert. "Inside. But the door is broken, and she says bad people might come in, and she is really scared and crying, and I do not know what to do." The little girl's voice trembled. "You look like you know how to fix things." Damian felt alarm bells ringing. "Show me which house." The girl led him 3 houses down to a modest home that looked dark inside. As they approached, Damian could see the front door hanging at an odd angle. The frame splintered as if someone had tried to kick it in. "What is your name?" Damian asked gently. "Sophie, and that is my mommy inside." "Sophie, I need you to stay right here on the porch while I talk to your mommy, okay?" Damian knocked carefully on the damaged door. "Hello, my name is Damian Fletcher. I live down the street. Your daughter Sophie came to find me. She said your door is broken." He heard movement inside, then a woman's voice, shaky and scared. "Please do not come in. I have called the police." "I am not here to hurt you," Damian said quickly. "I live in the neighborhood. Your daughter is standing right here with me. She is safe, but she is scared because you are scared. Can I help?" After a long pause, the door opened slightly. A young woman peered out, her face pale and streaked with tears. She could not have been more than 28, with light brown hair pulled back in a messy ponytail. When she saw Sophie standing safely with Damian, relief flooded her features. "Sophie, I told you to stay in your room." She pulled her daughter inside protectively, then looked at Damian with exhaustion and fear. "I am sorry she bothered you. We will be fine." But Damian could see they were not fine. The door frame was destroyed, the lock completely broken. The woman who introduced herself as Melissa was clearly terrified, and Sophie was on the verge of tears. "What happened?" Damian asked. Melissa hesitated, then seemed to make a decision. "My ex-boyfriend. He showed up drunk an hour ago, trying to force his way in. I got Sophie into her room and called the police, but by the time they arrived, he was gone. They filed a report and left, but the door is destroyed, and I cannot afford to fix it tonight, and I am scared he will come back." She looked down at Sophie, who was clinging to her leg. "I tried to stay calm for Sophie's sake, but she must have heard me crying. I was scared, Mommy," Sophie said quietly. "So I went to find help. I saw that man coming home, and he looked strong enough to fix our door." Damian felt something shift inside him. He thought about his empty mansion 3 houses away, filled with expensive furniture and high-tech security, while this mother and daughter huddled in a home with a broken door, terrified. "I can fix this," Damian said. "Not permanently, but I can secure it enough for tonight. I have tools at my house. Give me 15 minutes. "I cannot ask you to do that," Melissa protested weakly. "It is midnight. You did not ask." Sophie did, and she was right to ask for help when she needed it. Damian looked at the little girl. "You were very brave, Sophie. Stay with your mommy. I will be right back." Damian returned with his toolbox, lumber from his garage, and a determination to make this family safe. While Melissa made Sophie hot chocolate to distract her, Damian reinforced the door frame, installed a temporary but solid lock, and added support braces that would prevent anyone from kicking the door in. "This will hold until morning," he said, testing the lock. "But you need a new door and frame. And honestly, better security overall." "I know," Melissa said tiredly. "I have been meaning to upgrade everything since I left him 6 months ago. But I am a nurse working 2 jobs to make rent, and security systems are expensive, and I keep putting it off thinking he had moved on." She wiped her eyes. "I was stupid. I should have prioritized Sophie's safety over everything else." "You are not stupid," Damien said firmly. You are dealing with a situation no one should have to handle alone. Sophie tugged on Damien's sleeve. Are you going to stay and make sure the bad man does not come back? Damien looked at this little girl who had been brave enough to walk down the street in her pajamas at midnight to find help. He looked at Melissa, exhausted and frightened, trying so hard to keep her daughter safe. Yes, he said, surprising himself. I am going to stay right here on your couch tonight. If anyone tries to come back, they will have to deal with me first. You cannot do that, Melissa protested. You have already done too much. I can and I am, Damien said. Sophie asked me to help keep you safe, so that is what I am going to do. That night, Damien sat on Melissa's worn couch, listening to the house settle, making sure no one approached. Around 2 in the morning, Sophie crept out of her room. I cannot sleep, she whispered. Can you tell me a story? So Damien, who had not thought about children in years, found himself telling Sophie about a brave princess who asked for help when she needed it and how that was the bravest thing anyone could do. Is my mommy brave? Sophie asked. Your mommy is one of the bravest people I have ever met, Damien said honestly. She left someone who was not treating her well, and she is working hard to give you a good life. That takes incredible courage. The next morning, Damien called his company's head of security. By noon, his team had installed a state-of-the-art security system at Melissa's house: cameras, reinforced doors, motion sensors, everything. This is too much, Melissa kept saying. I cannot possibly pay for this. You are not paying for it, Damien said. Consider it payment for the lesson Sophie taught me last night. What lesson? That asking for help is not weakness, it is wisdom. That community means looking out for each other. That I have been living in this neighborhood for 2 years and never once thought to meet my neighbors or see if anyone needed help. Sophie reminded me that having resources means nothing if you do not use them to help people who need it. Over the following weeks, Damien found himself checking on Melissa and Sophie regularly. He helped Melissa file for a restraining order. He connected her with a lawyer friend who took her case pro bono. He played with Sophie while Melissa worked her shifts. Why are you doing all this? Melissa asked one evening. We are just your neighbors. You do not owe us anything. Damien thought about his empty mansion, his solitary life, his belief that success meant isolation at the top. Because Sophie knocked on a stranger's door at midnight and trusted me to help. Because you let me into your home even though you were terrified. Because helping you both has made me feel more purposeful than any business deal I have closed in years. He paused. And because somewhere along the way, you stopped being just neighbors and started being people I care about. 6 months later, Melissa's ex was in jail after violating the restraining order. Melissa had started a better paying position at a private hospital. Sophie was thriving in kindergarten. And Damien had learned that his expensive mansion felt a lot less empty when he spent his evenings with people who had taught him what really mattered. One evening, while Sophie was showing Damien her drawings, Melissa sat beside him on the couch. I need to tell you something, she said. When Sophie walked down the street that night, I was terrified. I thought I had failed her as a mother, but she made the best decision either of us could have made. She found you. She found someone who needed to be found, Damien said. I was so isolated I did not realize how lonely I was until a 4-year-old girl trusted me enough to ask for help. He took Melissa's hand. You have shown me what real strength looks like. Not building companies or making money, but raising a daughter who believes the world is good enough that strangers will help when you ask. Can I be part of that world? Part of your world? Through her tears, Melissa nodded. Yes. Sophie looked up from her drawings. Does this mean you're going to be my new daddy? Damien pulled her onto his lap. Would that be okay with you? Yes. Because you fixed our door when mommy was scared. And you stayed to keep us safe. That is what daddies are supposed to do. 1 year after that midnight knock on a broken door, Damien proposed in the front yard where he had first met Sophie. Security cameras, the ones he had installed, captured every moment. Sophie asked me to fix a door. Instead, she fixed something broken inside me. Melissa, you let a stranger into your home when you had every reason to be afraid. You both taught me that Wealth without compassion is just money, and that the richest thing I could ever have is a family built on trust and love. At their wedding, Sophie was flower girl. In his vows, Damien said, "A little girl in pajamas asked me to fix a door at midnight. I thought I was helping her. Instead, she saved me from a life where success had replaced connection." Thank you, Sophie, for being brave enough to ask. Thank you, Melissa, for being brave enough to let me help.